Somebody wrote it. I understand the concepts of AI, but how can I use AI on like a day-to-day basis? Like what tools are out there for people to use that make sense as far as aside? Yes, we know what Chat GPT is, but obviously there's a few other tools. What else can be used?
Yeah, I actually just was talking with a group the other day about this, and I actually came up with like 5 tools that the average shop could utilize to help, like for different things. Because here's the thing: I mean, all of us kind of know about AI, but a common question that comes up is like, okay, well, what do I do with it? Like, how do I actually use it for my business? And I came up with a couple tools that people can utilize that I think makes sense. One is ChatGPT or Bard, whichever one you want to use with regard to that. And I think we all kind of have a feeling for that. But I think a lot of people don't understand. You could ask it to help you write an eye-catching headline for a post you want to do or things like that. You can ask it to, it will take what it knows about things that have been responded to positively online and write a post that maybe is better than what you could come up with yourself, or just give you inspiration. I mean, I feel like those platforms, it's not so much about just copying and pasting. It's about giving you inspiration that then you could take that and be like, I really like that, or I really like this, but if I combine them together, I really like the way that comes out. And so I feel like ChatGPT and Bard can help you in a variety of ways, or just asking you could just ask it questions, use that for inspiration to create a post, create a blog article on your website, send out an email. Like you could ask it to create an email, anything like that. Yeah. The other, some of the other tools, and I know, like I said, I don't want to delve, go down a rabbit hole with each one of these, but DAL E2, that's DALL-E-2, that's an image generator from AI. So you literally can type in a description of what you want, and it will, out of thin air, create an image that is based on what you've typed in, like the description. You could say, I want, Super Mario, like throwing a flaming dart at, something, you know what I mean? Well, you can just type something in, and it will literally create an image based on what you've typed in, what you've asked it to do.
I've noticed Canva does that too with some stuff. It's a lot more vague and it's not as specific, but it is one of those features that's within Canva if people are looking at or playing around with that already.
Yeah. So I think that, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Canva part of it is maybe being driven by DAL too. Like, they're integrating that. But my point is, you could create an image that, you might want to have that, like just something that's interesting, something that's maybe even going on in your town that you can kind of create a fun or an interesting offshoot of, but the image doesn't exist, but you could use this to create something that might catch people's eyes and utilize that. Great tool. That's DALL-E2. Lovo AI, another great tool. It basically allows you to type something in and then choose what type of voice you wanted, and it will actually speak based on what you've typed in to create like a voice message. So you could utilize that for, again, I'm trying to boil this down to like how a small business might be able to use it. Maybe you don't like the way your voice sounds. Maybe somebody at your shop, you don't like the way you could use it to create a voice message for your phone system. You could use it to create a voiceover for a video or something like that. If you want to have something on your thing and you don't want it to be your voice, you don't like your voice, or you don't think your voice resonates with people, you could utilize Lovo.ai to type in what you want it to say and then have that create the actual voice. So again, another tool, another way you could utilize AI in your local business. Another one is Images AI. That allows you to edit images, remove backgrounds, all types of different things utilizing AI. We talked a little bit about that when you were utilizing it even within Photoshop. I think Images AI is just a tool that people can use to modify images they currently have it remove certain things, do things like that. I think that could be a great tool for people to use. And again, I'm trying to really boil this down to tangible tools that people can use. The last one is Fireflies. It's basically a meeting transcription tool. So if you sit down somewhere, open it up, put it down on the table. If you're talking to a client, you're talking to somebody like that, it will literally transcribe what's being said into like an ongoing transcript. So, some people might be able to use this, some people might not. But if you ever have had a situation where a client has said, you told me X and Y and Z, and you're like, man, that's not what I said. This might be an interesting tool to just be like, okay, as you're reaching the summary with a client, you just want to say, okay, I just want to make sure we're both on the same page. We agreed to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. Might be an interesting time to light up Fireflies, let it transcribe that last bit of the conversation, and then you could even attach it in certain CRMs and things like that. So if there is ever a question about what was agreed to, what was not agreed to, you now actually have a transcript of exactly what was said in that conversation. So
I was gonna say I think sometimes it's used as well. Obviously, if you're running a brick and mortar shop, it might not work out. But if you're on a podcast or something, you could then transcribe that and use it as a blog article, or
Absolutely.
somehow switch that around in some way that you could rewrite kind of the whole conversation out, but you'd have this text that you could essentially use as more content. So that's, I know, something a lot of people do where they take a video podcast like this, they turn it into an audio podcast, transcribe it, and also use it as an article. So it's just another way to have more content.
No, that's actually a really good point, because I wasn't even really thinking along those lines, but you're absolutely right. I was thinking more like, okay, how does a shop owner or somebody that works in the industry, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if you had $1 for every time there's been a misunderstanding with a client, and you kind of lean back on that, the client's always right, and you can't really prove that wasn't said. They can't really prove that it was said. This could be something you could utilize, especially if it's something that ends up being like a higher dollar ticket, or even like if you're doing paint protection film, let's say, on a car, you're doing a full wrap on a car, and you're under agreement with like what's going to be covered, what's not going to be covered. How, are you going to wrap the edges? Are you going to cut the film at the edge? Is it going to be a wrap, or is it going to be right up to the edge? All those different types of things. If you have that transcript of saying this is exactly what we're agreeing to, it's going to put you in a position where you can say, listen, I know for a fact we talked about that area not being covered, or we were going to wrap the edges, or we were only going to go to the edge, or whatever the case may be. It gives you a little bit of a leg to stand on versus just saying, that's not what we talked about, and the other person saying that is what we talked about, and then you're kind of in an impasse. So again, those are just 5 tools I shared with a group that I get together with on a weekly basis, that were really interested in AI, but like, okay, how do I actually use this for my business? It's cool. It's got the party trick element to it, like, but now we're getting beyond the party trick element into like, okay, how do I actually use it for my business? And here's a couple examples.
No, I think that's the key for everybody. Like, one, understanding it, but how do you use it within the context of whatever you're trying to do, whether it's your marketing business or anything like that. That's, once you can have a tool, you can have a wrench, but you don't know how to use it. That can be the trouble with a lot of this stuff.